We're just going to get started. Today is part 2 with Rachel Riggs, Looking Ahead. With me, supporting me today is Ashley Winkle and Laura Greer. And I'm going to introduce Rachel. She is an ESL instructional specialist for the Adult Education Department of Frederick Community College in Maryland. She has spent the last year supporting local and international adult educators as they navigate emergency remote teaching. Her support comes in the form of webinars, professional development, and one-on-one training in the areas of EdTech integration and building digital skills. She's looking forward to reflecting with the TCAL and Texas Adult Education AEL team as we take a look back at the last year and look ahead at what's to come. Welcome, Rachel. We are so glad that you are here.
Thank you, Krista. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so glad to be here on Teacher Tuesday, my favorite kind of Tuesday. And I love seeing all of your names and introductions in the chat, so please continue to introduce yourselves. I do have to add, only because, from teacher to teacher, I like to share helpful little tips. I just got this at IKEA, you guys, and if you use Google Slides, it's hard to see your notes while you're presenting. I just got this little iPhone stand for $4 at IKEA, and it has changed my life. So this should be the smoothest presentation I've ever given. Anyway, so today we are going to be shifting from what we did 2 weeks ago. And if you didn't attend last time, welcome. It's okay. There's no, we're not going to be like testing you on the last session or anything. But for the last session, we were kind of reflecting on the last year. And this session, I want to look ahead at what's to come and how we're going to launch into a new year as really new educators. We've learned so much, and so what are we going to do? How are we going to use all of that new knowledge to move into this next year? So like I said, introduce yourselves. Good morning, Meryl. Good morning, Angela. Hi, everyone. Hi, Hilda. I can see you guys in the chat, and I'm always monitoring the chat, so feel free to drop comments, questions, whatever in there. As Krista said, my name is Rachel Riggs, and I am in Frederick, Maryland. And she gave enough of an introduction, so I'm not going to talk about myself anymore. So today what we're going to do is I want to do a little bit of a recap of the last session because it's going to help us move into this session. And then we're going to revisit the teacher types that we talked about last session. We're going to categorize ourselves into one of those teacher types. And then we're going to talk about tapping in, and I'll explain more of that when we get there. Please be prepared to click on links, to type in the chat box, to unmute yourselves, to be in a breakout room. This is going to be super, a lot of participation, very collaborative and interactive. So, if you left me in the bathroom, come get me and pay attention and interact with us, please. I don't think anybody did that, but just in case. Okay, so from last session, I'm curious to know if anyone here was present during the last session, and if you were, is there anything that stands out in your mind about last time? Is there anything that was memorable or impactful to you, an aha moment? Or if you even just remember something that we did together in the last session, put it in the chat box for me. Uh-oh, I'm trusting that you guys are thinking and typing. Not that nothing was memorable. We'll see. Anything you remember. Okay, so Laura, you didn't make it. That's okay, no problem. If anyone was there and you can remember something from the last session, throw it in.
I'm typing something in. Give me a few minutes.
Okay, good. I thought maybe you were typing. I'm glad.
Thank you so much. I'm typing it in. Give me a few minutes.
No problem, no problem. Okay, Ashley remembers Jamboard. Yes, we did a lot of Jamboard last time, and we will be revisiting Jamboard this time. So if you're, wanting to interact a little bit more on Jamboard or get a little intro to it, we will be doing that. Daisy says Jamboard too. Okay, you know what, teachers, you're always looking for those practical tools, huh? No problem, Tiffany. It's okay. I know you've been doing a lot in the last few weeks, Miranda. Okay, good. Good, Miranda, great. So Miranda remembers we were reflecting, looking at the challenges of the last year. We used Jamboard, and then she remembers her teacher type. Miranda is an advocate. Awesome. Okay, and then I know Deborah's answer's coming. I'm gonna go to my next slide while Deborah's typing. Here we go.
Well, it was determining my teacher type also.
Your teacher type, good. And we're gonna revisit that, like I said. Okay, so last session, it was 2 weeks ago now, so I get it. Teachers are busy, it's the end of the year. So no, I'm not trying to guilt anybody here. We talked about emergency remote teaching, and so we defined that, and I talked about how important it is to recognize that we were in an emergency situation over the last year, and what are the unique aspects of emergency remote teaching? How is it characterized in research? And then you guys spent some time working on a Jamboard to put together a visual, what can we call it? What are those called? You put a bunch of pictures together. Collage of visual representations of ERT if you needed to explain that to an alien, right? So that was kind of fun. We also did hero self-affirmations. So I do hope that that stuck with you. And I hope you remember that your response to the emergency and your perseverance and persistence in providing education to adults in your state makes you a hero. Those are stories you should be telling your kids and your grandkids for years to come about how important it was to you to deliver education and to cross digital divides and all of the heroic acts that educators have taken over the last year. So you're heroes, don't forget that. And then we left off with teacher types. And so everybody had kind of determined their teacher type. You guys were in breakout rooms and you were talking about why your teacher type was so important over the last year. So we're gonna go back to teacher types. And this time, instead of looking at how our teacher type was important over the last year, we're gonna look forward. That's what today is all about, looking ahead. And we're going to figure out, how does my teacher type, how can I look at that to identify some things about myself that are going to help me re-energize and are going to re-motivate me moving into this next year. So we've got a lot to do today, and we've got a lot of collaboration. We've got a lot of discussion we're going to do. We don't have a lot of slides, so I'm going to roll right into it, and we're going to get started. So looking ahead into the teacher types, like I said, we used teacher types last time to look back. We were looking at, why was your teacher type so important during emergency remote teaching? Now we're going to use our two teacher types, and we're going to look forward, and we're going to talk about, how does the teacher type highlight your strengths and your unique challenges? And then how are you going to use your knowledge of those strengths and challenges to go into the next year of teaching, and what approaches are you going to take? So there were 4 teacher types that we talked about. The first one is the advocate, and then the brain, the techie, and the creator. The advocate has a focus on society. So the advocate is teaching to have an impact on society as a whole. And it's important to them to highlight societal issues in the classroom. And their goal is equity and change. The advocate is looking for forward motion, more equitable practice, and more awareness around critical issues that affect learners. Some of the unique characteristics of the advocate is that they really focus on, and they know and are intimately familiar with, the personal struggles of the learners in their classroom. They lift the voices of their students. They want their students to be heard, and they hear their students. They listen to their students, and they are not satisfied with just teaching the content. They infuse instruction with, like I said, important societal issues. And so we're talking about teachers who are focusing on bringing cultural awareness into the classroom, bringing debate into the classroom, and things like that. The next one is called the brain. The brain has a unique focus on content. I don't know. I identify probably with all the types, as I think everybody does, but I really got into TESOL because I just loved languages and I loved studying English and breaking it apart, and I loved grammar and writing and all those things. And so that's kind of the brain. They're just kind of geeking out over the content that they're delivering. Their real goal is to see student progress. They want to see that, you know, they have their objectives and students are progressing through those objectives. The brain knows where each student stands, what their strengths and weaknesses are in terms of the content and where they're headed. They formulate detailed learning objectives and lesson plans, and they're always looking at the next steps to get students closer to their goals. Okay, so that's the advocate and the brain. So start thinking about, who am I? Because I'm going to have you pick one. You can only pick one. I know you probably identify with all of them, but try to think at your most outstanding characteristics as a teacher. Which one do they fall into? Advocate, brain, and the next one is the techie. The techie focuses on technology, obviously. Their goals are to provide an innovative, oh my goodness, what am I saying? Like an innovatively designed lesson, something that's cutting edge and cool and interactive, and leveraging technology to deliver instruction in a kind of new way. They know the latest ed tech tools and they strategically implement them, or they strategically don't implement certain ones, which is valid too. And they accommodate students on any devices or platforms that make the most sense. They're good at identifying the technology that fits into different contexts and with different content and with different objectives. So that's the techie. Okay, Tiffany, good. You're a techie. Good. So you guys think about, who am I? Which one am I? Then there's the creator, and I like to call this the Pinterest teacher. Okay, this is the bulletin boards. They're all over those bulletin boards. They are sprucing them up. They got the borders. They've got the glitter glue. They're just going nutso. So the creator focuses on lessons, on the individuality. So their goal is to infuse individuality into the lessons. And they use all modalities to reach students, and they want to tap into all learning styles or just any of the individual aspects of their students. Okay, cool. I'm seeing people. Good. We have creator / techie. You're going to have to choose just one. So, you got to figure out which one is most you, but yes. Okay, somebody says they're definitely not the creator. That's good. We could do the process of elimination too. I am not the creator either, so that does help to eliminate that one. But anyway, so the creator uses all different modalities. They are obviously creative. They want to focus on presenting the material in a variety of ways so that any kind of learner can grasp it. They're energized by challenging students, and they're eager to find a way to engage them. Jean, okay, awesome. Yay, we have some people who know exactly who they are. Good, so you guys are ready then, I guess. Any questions about the teacher types? We have the advocate, we have the advocate, the brain, the techie, and the creator. Do you have any questions to help you choose yours before I open up these breakout rooms? Okay, well, it looks good. Good. Okay, people are identifying with something. Awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do is you guys are going to break into groups based off of your teacher type. And I'm going, one person from the organizer logistics team we have here, one person's going to pop into your breakout room and share a Jamboard link with you. In the Jamboard, you're going to go to frames 2 and 3. And share your ideas on those frames. And I also want you to choose someone to share out at the end. So when we come back together, I want to hear from one person in your group who's going to give us the aha moments of your teacher type and what special things energize your teacher type and what special challenges your teacher type has. So I'm going to jump over to Jamboard and show you guys what that looks like and how to interact on it. And then I'll open up the breakout rooms. If I can get out of this window. Okay, there we go. I did it. Welcome back. As people are coming back, I want to know if you guys could guess which teacher type had 0 people in it. There was one teacher type that got no, nobody selected it.
No way.
You can guess in the chat box which one it was. And I'll give you.
I noticed that, Rachel. I was looking at the list and I noticed.
I'll give you 5 points if you can guess which group had
I
nobody.
can't think of the fourth option. Creator, advocate.
It was the brain.
Oh,
It was.
That too.
it's because the brain was in the main
Yeah.
room.
I thought that was pretty funny.
That's
Okay, so actually let me stop sharing because what I want to do is I want to hear from everyone. So let's start with the advocate group. Whoever was chosen to share out, let us know what were some aha moments you had about your type and what do you think other types should know about your type?
Okay, I'm Carol, and I was going to be the spokesperson, and
Yes, and I'm going to share my
Yes.
screen.
Miranda was going to share our screen. So what special projects, Energize, revising student orientation documents to get the most out of those documents, as much information, creating content for specific student needs, concerned with students knowing class is a safe place to ask questions, a safe environment, and then again, our registration, I think registration is a good place for us to learn a whole lot and start that building of trust with those students. Creating new ways to motivate students, especially on a personal level, concerned with how students are treated to one another and themselves. Put this in writing as beginning of class. So this is a known value and a framework to kind of set those standards at the beginning. Create content that links AEL concepts to real world scenarios that can be dissected in the classroom. Create a survey for students taken at the beginning of the course with general questions to gauge their knowledge base, resources available to them and time frame. Then flexibility, I thought that was really important in approaching content. And I think as an advocate, we need to ensure that students know that we care about their needs and that we are there to help them. So as advocates, we're really working for plugging in any holes that are there with students. If they need help in any areas, we're there trying to give them that safe place to ask questions and a place for answers and resources. And then things that demotivate students student doesn't understand due to language barriers. We're careful to use everyday language versus professional. Technical issues, criticism and negativity, the lack of optimism. We thrive on optimism, and lack of cultural awareness or a desire to understand diversity.
Wow, that's great. You guys really came up with a lot of good answers, good characteristics that help us understand the advocate a little bit better. Thank you guys for sharing. And then what about the brain? Oh, wait. I don't know, Krista and Laura, you guys are saying in the chat that you guys are brains. Do you want to share anything about what energizes the brain and what de-energizes them or not?
Well, data certainly motivates us. Give us good data and we can do lots of good stuff. And demotivating is things that don't seem to be sequential, that doesn't have a beginning and an end.
I was going to say structure and then chaos.
Okay, that sums it up. Okay, wonderful. Okay, and then the techie is next. Do we have the spokesperson from the techie group?
Hi, this is Meryl. I'm trying to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? What special projects energize the techie? We had a lot of great collaboration and conversation around this. There's a lot of techies in that room. It was great to talk with everybody. Some of the things that we included that energized us techies, looking at the curriculum and finding opportunities to integrate technology in a meaningful way. Training teachers to use technology in their classroom. Okay, finding opportunities to train and share new technology with staff and students. You know, a lot of that happens like in the elevator or walking down the hallway in my area. Putting technology in the hands of students to empower the students to teach others. There's always those students that are, you know, a little advanced with technology compared to the others. And so put the device or the lesson technology integration device in the hands of the student to empower them to teach others. Innovative new projects. Techies like to create and do projects. And technology that makes the staff teachers' jobs faster and more efficient. There is a technology tool out there that can and will make the teacher, if they're willing, more efficient in their job duties and in their objectives.
Except the coffee IV drip. That hasn't come out yet, but.
What challenges demotivate the techie? You see how many there are here compared to, you know, the amount we have for, you know, energizing. Using a device as a babysitter, like if a teacher needed to do something and they're just using that to waste time, that really demotivates the techie. A lack of interest or enthusiasm. Not being willing to learn or improve digital literacy skills, being handed a big packet of paper, out-of-date technology or the lack of internet. I know a lot of us have probably experienced the out-of-date technology. Let's see, refusal to invest in needed technology. You know, those decision makers are the ones who write the paycheck or the checks. You know, their money is allocated to other things, and I got that. But be an advocate for our technology devices. If we don't share that, then that demotivates the techie. Difficulties accessing a computer lab. If our students don't have devices that can be utilized, going through all the red tape to, you know, get assigned a lab and all that. The best way to teach technology is to have the hands of the students on the keyboard. At the time of teaching. Refusal to use or feel limited to technology, and being surrounded by people who are not open to change. Like they've been doing the same thing over and over for years, and it works. They see results, but you know, technology to me is a tool. It's like a pencil. It's a tool to make learning efficient and more creative and innovative. So
great. Thank you. Wow, the passion really came through.
Oh, it did. It sure did.
Okay, so we have 2 more minutes for the creator. So who was the spokesperson?
And that's all we need.
Awesome. Thanks, Deborah.
So, Ms. Carlotta, can you put the screen up, or do you want to, or can you do it? So a couple of the persons that was in our room was unable to communicate. So Ms. Carlotta and I kind of gave our information. So what specialized project energized the creator? And this can be for any subject. So for the first one, it says to make sure that because I teach GED and I have all levels in my class. So when we went to the computer, I had to figure out how can I reach everybody at one time in this modem. And so what I tried to do was, and this is going to be, I just chose grammar. I said to make sure that all levels in the classes are able to participate. Because of the grade levels, we recapped the parts of the speech. I did parts of the speech, and I did that with materials online as well as visuals online using the computer activities in order to engage the students. So that's our major things. We have to engage the students online here at all times. And that's one of the things that I found that help to keep them engaged when I'm working with all levels. Everybody has an opportunity in that learning style, whether they're visual, whether they're hands-on, whether they're audio, we have all those things working simultaneously. Then the other one for, I do a job search skills class at Harris County Department of Education. So after we do all of our things in order to successfully get the job, resume writing, cover letters, our last piece in this entity is going to be interviewing. So we do mock interviewing with the students there in the Harris County Jail. One becomes an employer, then one is the employee. So what we do there is we teach them how to recognize the questions within the realm of being an employer, and as well as that in the employee. So they, reverse roles And that's one of the things that I do in the jail, but that's not a part of the tech program, but that's what I do. And I also do it now online. So we do the same thing online and the mock portion of it also. So that's, I think that's for me, the epitome of students once they learn how to do their profiles, their information, and then this culminates that information there. Our demotivator was Mrs. Carletta shared that when the student says that I can't, she's like, no. So she tells them always to let them not to say that, but to put their best foot forward and to make sure they do their best no matter how things come. And then you can say you did it. And then finally, for me, I just have a hard time. You know, this technology is new for me, and I'm not a techie. As a matter of fact, I only get on this computer before this started to read emails. So I am just fully illuminated now, and a whole lot of things I didn't know. Yeah. So when technology for me doesn't work, I have to really kind of grasp that concept that it may not work. And so that's a demotivator for me when this technology doesn't work as I've, set my things in motion to work. So that's my demotivator.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you everyone for sharing. So what was the point of this? What is the point of categorizing ourselves into different types? The motivation for me was to help you guys see that there are certain things that you really brought to the table over the last year. No matter what type you fall into, you had something to offer. You have something to offer. You have certain strengths and skill sets. And there are also things that demotivate you because of the type of teacher that you are, and because of your strengths, you have other things that are challenging and demotivating for you. So my encouragement is to go into this next year and know your strengths, focus on projects that energize you. Choose those projects, invest in them, create them, follow through with them. And for everything that challenges and demotivates you, lean on your community to complete those tasks or to pivot your focus to those areas. So invest in the things that motivate you and energize you, and seek support for the things that don't, for the things that demotivate you. So in this next section, we're going to talk about tapping in. What does the phrase tap out mean? Where did that come from? And what does it mean to tap out of something? Put it in the chat box if you can for me. And Tiffany's talking about how she's a techie and creator. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it comes from wrestling. And essentially, in a nutshell, what is tapping out? Surrendering. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, giving up. Yep. Okay, and so I want to talk a little bit about strategies for tapping in. It's okay to tap out. If you tapped out this year during the pandemic, that's okay. We all have to tap out at some point. We all need breaks at some point. We all should know our limits, right? But I want to talk about strategies for tapping in. What do we do when the going gets tough? And how do we lean into it and keep going and persevere? So tapping out versus tapping in. I want to hear first, how do you stay motivated, and do you have any strategies for tapping in? I'm going to share a tool with you in a minute, but I want to hear from you. What do you do when you feel like tapping out? How do you get to the point where you can tap in and persevere, stay engaged, stay motivated? Does anybody have ideas or strategies? Okay, so to-do list. Yes, Tiffany, I'm like, oh my gosh, my to-do list out the wazoo. I've got 3 different kinds on my desk right now. Okay, a walk, some physical movement, doing research, right? Just getting the knowledge so you feel more confident and comfortable. Good one, Meryl. Help someone else. Good. That's a great strategy. Offer your strengths to another teammate or something. Awesome. Planning, yes. Helps you stay focused. Good. Any other ideas for tapping in? Those were great. So tap here, when I talk about tapping in, I'm actually using an acronym for a teacher action plan, okay? And so we're actually going to work on these a little bit in the next few minutes that we have left. I've created for you guys a teacher action plan. Sorry, one moment. A teacher action plan that I would encourage you to go through over the summer, maybe start it now and then continue it over the next few weeks, but really give it some thought and work through your teacher action plan. And the teacher action plan is all about looking at your strengths, looking at yourself as a unique teacher with special things to offer and special things that hold you back or demotivate and de-energize you. So looking at yourself as a unique individual, a unique teacher, and then using that as a platform from which you can launch into a new year of teaching, knowing yourself a little bit better and knowing what you want to invest your time in and where you can best give your energy. So the teacher action plan, I'm going to share a link to it in just a minute with you guys. You can see it, it's a Google Doc. So I'll share the link to the Google Doc in a minute for each of you to have your own copy. But I kind of want to explain some of the different areas. So we're going to use your teacher type. That's why we went through that process as a starting point for considering your unique strengths and challenges. And then using the last year as a launch pad for how you will move into the future of your role as an educator. So, I'm a big believer in the fact that when we face challenges, we should somehow memorialize those challenges when we have overcome them, because if we don't, it's all too easy to fall back into a normal routine. And so we've all just faced a pandemic together, which I'd say is a pretty decent challenge. And how are we going to kind of set up a monument in memory of this pandemic that will always remind us of the lessons that we learned during it? Let's not just fall back into normalcy and continue as if it hasn't happened, but let's leverage it to make us more effective and more energized and enthusiastic about what we do. So in the teacher action plan, you're going to list your strengths first. What do you bring to the table? What do you do really well? You can use your teacher type as a starting point for that list. And then energizing projects that you're going to invest in. So moving into the next fiscal year, what are some things that you want to work on? What are things that energize you that you could be really successful at creating or adapting or investing your time in? What are the challenges that you face moving into the next year? What do you know is waiting around the corner that's going to stump you? And then your support. When you face those challenges, who can you look to within your network when you're facing those challenges? Try to think about different teacher types, right? Who are the techies that you know that you can lean on? Who are the brains that you know that you can lean on? And then there's a column for next steps and notes. I have written in the next steps column, I've written some ideas for you guys for some things that you can consider as your next steps. The very first one is giving yourself some kind of tangible memory of the last year and putting it in a prominent place in your workspace so that you can look at it and remember the lessons that you've learned and utilize them and leverage them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put this in the chat box. I'm going to close out our session with the link to this and a quote and my contact information. And I would love, if you guys have a few extra minutes, jump into it and start filling it out. Please use it. And I know that it will be something that inspires you and helps you as you're trying to get remotivated and get back into this next year. And then a reminder, I love this quote by Helen Keller: alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. So we've identified the teacher types. And I just want to say that as educators, there's so much that we can do with our differences. We can lean on one another amongst those different types, and so much we can do with our similarities. We can bind ourselves together and really make big changes by using those similarities. Yes, I love this quote. And I think as educators, it can be so isolating as a teacher, right? You're in your own classroom working with your own students and you almost feel like you're in your own world. But when we start sharing resources, sharing ideas, that's when the most amazing things come out of the education field. So good, I'm glad you guys love this quote. Yes, remember it, lean on your people this year. Okay, this is my contact information. I'm gonna leave it up while I share the link to the Google Doc. It is a copy link, so the first page you'll be brought to asks you if you wanna make a copy of the Google Doc. That's gonna save it. That's gonna save it automatically to your Google Drive. So hold on a second, I gotta get to the slide and grab the link. And like I said, I hope you'll really make a copy of this and use it as a tool for reflection and for motivation. Okay, so there's the link. I just put the link in the chat. Here's my contact info on the screen. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, thank you. You guys have an amazing week. Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to meet you all and have these conversations with you. So take care.